the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, joins us now via the telephone. And it's good to have you, Attorney General. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us about this, because you announced this just yesterday. Because there are all of these, little contractors that have really been encouraging and helping to facilitate this for some time. And the federal government's not going to, they reward them. They're not going to take any action on this. Tell us about this injunction.
Well, Dana, thanks for having me back. Look, it was interesting. All we did was announce our investigation, which we investigate nonprofits all the time just to make sure that there's no fraud. They're following state laws. It's our role. It's one of our roles under the law. And so all we did was try to ask them questions first, and they sued us to try to stop us in front of a liberal judge in El Paso, to try to stop us from asking them questions. And I have never been punched back faster and harder by a bunch of politicians. So we knew we'd touched the nerve, because it was a bunch of the mayor, congressmen down there. All the local officials came out immediately in a press conference, called me that I was discriminating against Catholic religion and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, this must be a deal. If they reacted like that, I have never seen a reaction that hard and that fast with anything I've ever done. So when we asked for the injunction, because now we have enough information, despite the fact that they have tried to block us from getting it, and this judge has tried to block us from getting it. We have enough information. We believe they are actually aiding and abetting criminal activity, human trafficking, drug trafficking, and the Biden administration funds these organizations. They don't. A lot of times they don't do it directly. They just send the money to them, and then they let the NGOs do the illegal activity.
Yeah, this is. I've seen this firsthand. When I've been down at the border before, and I went to look at one of these. I guess it was like a processing facility. It was Catholic Charities down there, and the lady running it was very, very far left, and we kind of were debating a little bit. But very much
but Dana,
helping that facilitation of that.
Care? Why would they care if we just? Look.
Yeah, what's wrong with asking questions?
About how they're. We ask a few questions. This is what we do in Texas. They get public. They get money from individuals that are contributing to their charity, and so there's got to be some oversight to make sure there's not fraud involved, or as in this case, illegal activity. So if they weren't not afraid of anything, they would have answered our questions. We would be moving on right now. Nope, that's not what we're doing. They sued us. So we're in litigation because they chose to be in litigation, because they chose not to answer the questions that we reasonably asked.
That's wild that they would go to that extent. It seems like they feel like they're protected from the federal government.
Well, they think they're protected from the federal government, and they filed with a judge they thought would protect them, which he did immediately. And he also basically accused me of being anti-religious because I dared to ask a Catholic nonprofit a question.
Right. That's, yeah. And it's a perfectly reasonable, legitimate question with this. We're talking with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who is seeking an injunction halting these border NGOs with this conduct in Texas, because this has been an ongoing fight. And you and I, we've talked about this a number of times over the years. This administration's making it so incredibly difficult for you to do your job, for Texas to secure its borders. We're seeing more and more people crossing. It's all for a purpose. I know that they've also been coming after the governor's office and yourself because of the, how do I put it? Like the relocation of these people coming in, sending them to places that have advertised themselves as sanctuary cities, which seems perfectly reasonable, General, to do this, especially, this is what, places like Chicago and New York and Martha's Vineyard have advertised themselves as being sanctuary cities. But why is it, Attorney General, why is it that when Biden does it, when Biden sticks, and he's done this before, illegal aliens on planes and takes them elsewhere, it's acceptable? But if the Texas governor does it, if Texas does it, it's not.
I'm probably the wrong person to ask that question, but I will say this. It is interesting. You said they haven't helped us. It's not even just that they're not helping us. They are on the other side. They are actually helping the cartels get people here. And they started on day one when Biden announced that he was not deporting anybody, which is obviously a violation of federal law and the Constitution. And he has been doing everything possible. And I used to think this was that they were trying to get people here, that someday these people would be able to vote. They'll get amnesty. They'll their kids will vote, whatever. No, they're trying. I think they're here to vote now. I think they're moving them around to states that they need votes in, Texas, Florida, and other Republican states, and they're giving them. I think they're giving out Social Security numbers to these people and letting them then register. But they get driver's license and they register to vote. So most states do not have laws that prevent non-citizens from voting. They just don't. It has never been really contemplated. But we've got an administration that's trying to do a workaround because they don't view the mail-in ballot scheme as big enough this time. So they're going to try to have some of these people vote illegally. That's my impression of where we're at.
Wow. We're talking with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. You also announced the arrest of an individual. It was a Medicaid fraud control unit. You put out a statement about a half hour ago. The takedown of an illegal alien smuggling operation that was posing as a healthcare provider and a Medicaid fraud control unit. This is what they were investigating. So this is coming from like every angle.
Yeah, and it's what's amazing is I think it's hard for people to fathom this. It's not like it's just the cartels trying to infiltrate our country. Yes, they're doing that, but they're getting help. Like they're being told, not in like writing, but they're being told by actions. Hey, get your organization built into this country, move people in here, make your money on, human smuggling, trafficking of drugs, whatever. We don't really care. Just get people here and we'll move them around. Once you get in here, we'll take the handoff. You don't have to hide from us. We're on your side. And I think it's hard for the American people to understand that this administration is that bent on helping the cartels because they feel that this administration feels like they get a benefit of more Democratic voters. And they're willing to trade all the costs and all the people dying and the kids taking fentanyl and dying for this extra vote.
Speaking of the kids, you had some words for what the city of Austin did, declaring itself a sanctuary city for gender-affirming care. Now, this in the face of established Texas law now. I mean, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong on this is kind of performative what they did. But they declared that they were approving this resolution, declining enforcement of the state's laws, banning physicians from providing gender-affirming surgeries and medications to minors. It was the first city in the state to do so. This doesn't seem to have any kind of any really substantive standing because, this isn't a violation of existing law, correct?
Yeah, so they're playing a game. They know that it's illegal to do what they're doing. So they would normally pass ordinances funding this stuff and doing the opposite of what state law says. If they wanted to just blatantly right up in our face violate the law, which makes it easier to sue them. So instead, they passed a resolution directing the very same thing. So it was an indirect way of actually accomplishing the same thing, which is, hey, we're not going to follow state law, and there's nothing you can do to stop us, and we're gonna use subterfuge to get around it.
One of my favorite things, changing gears here, that I think that you're involved in as of late is this. You're leading this multi-state coalition and suing the ATF over this insane ban on legal private firearms sales. You're joined with Louisiana, Missouri, and Utah going after the ATF because the ATF, these restrictions that they are trying to leverage or levy over people, it's ATF making law in place of Congress. These edicts where innocent people are treated like felons. Tell us about this. What realistically can be accomplished with this? Because until the House essentially defunds the ATF or somebody takes the grand action of, just abolishing them outright, I fear that we're going to have to be putting up with these little tyrannical edicts that they put out in place of law.
We're not going to put up with it. And the reason we're not going to put up with it is completely outside of what federal law directs them to do. And it's in contradiction to what Congress said. So they're not Congress. They don't have the right to make laws that are in contradiction to what Congress said. And Congress specifically exempted individual gun sales and made it very clear that the ATF was not to stop those. Well, now the ATF is criminalizing it and weaponizing the ATF against just individual people that want to sell guns to each other. That we will not allow. That is a violation of the Second Amendment. And this, again, is administration not only is destroying our country with illegal immigration, they are trying to eliminate the constitutional amendments that give us our freedoms from the First Amendment to the Second Amendment to the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah, for people who don't know, we've talked about this before. The ATF is trying to change what the definition of a dealer is. So basically, anybody, they want everybody to become a dealer. It's like a backdoor registry, I feel like. They want everyone to have to become a federal firearms licensee, because having that FFL means the ATF gets to take inventory of what you do. They get to make, at least once a year visits to your premises, look around, poke around, see what you got. That seems like this is like the start of a way to get around the prohibition of creating a federal registry. Do you think that that's an accurate assessment?
That's an accurate assessment. Their ultimate goal is to know where every gun is, to control every gun. And if you'll remember, the founders didn't create the Second Amendment necessarily for self-defense in and of itself. They created it because they did not trust the federal government, because they were worried that someday it might become tyrannical or abusive, and they wanted individuals to be able to defend themselves against the government. And so here we are. We have governments all over the world that don't allow individuals to have guns. And we're different. We have a constitution that not just allows, it demands that this is an inalienable right that we have to protect ourselves from our own government. And now we've got a government that says, no. We're going to know all about you, and eventually we're going to be in all your business. We're going to know what you have, and we're going to take it from you.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that you're leading the fight on this. Attorney General Ken Paxton, I think one of the most successful attorney generals out there, been leading the fight. And of course, that's why they want to target you so much. And they keep walking away, hands slap, with nothing, because they don't got nothing. They can't get mad at you for representing the people. But we're happy that you're doing such a good job at it. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. We appreciate your time.
The only reason I'm still here is by the grace of God, and also the great people of Texas that understand what's going on.
There you go. Right there. Attorney General Ken Paxton. Thank you so much, sir.